Hey, I'm Trey Lopshinsky, and I'm joined by Councillor Byron Stewart for Council Corner, where twice a month I meet with a member of council to chat about ongoing topics discussed in the community, as well as items from recent council meetings. Thank you for joining me, Byron. How are you doing today?
I'm well. Thanks for hosting.
I know you're a couple days off of vacation, still in vacation mode.
Still in vacation.
So just before we get into it, most of the topics that I have aren't from the recent council meeting. I do have a couple, but it's mainly from the council meeting earlier this month, just based off the fact that our last video talked with Councillor Boland about the pool, so really didn't get to touch on a lot of those topics. So first of all, relating to the change of liquor service hours that were discussed in council this week, that's kind of a broader question. I'm just curious about this process when a business would need to gain approval from the city on certain changes. So obviously there's liquor service hours is one, and the same with like any land changes, anything's relating to bylaw. And I just want to use this as a piece of information for residents of when they would come to the city to make any changes, whether as business owners or property owners.
Legislative services is the department that would refer anybody to go to for any questions. The example that you give for the change of liquor hours was for Mighty Peace Brewing, I believe. And they extended their hours or the request was until 1 a.m., of which council had no concerns with. Legislative Services puts out notice to the public, notifies the surrounding business owners, etc., and takes that feedback, if there is any, and presents that to council in a report. There was no concerns, no issues with RCMP or fire department. There was no structural changes that were happening within the building, simply hours of change. So it was an easy response to go forward. They come to us, I would say, a couple times a year, different liquor establishments, whether it be a liquor store or it would be a pub or in this case, brew house that is just looking to enhance their business service, enhance their ability to serve our residents. And so we don't want to get in the way of that.
No, definitely. And I'm sure there's a lot of people, a lot of residents that are happy about it. But for that process as a whole, like not just on the change of liquor service hours, but is there any kind of similar process that residents might not know about that, they might have to come to the city and ask for changes?
Well, I think it's always a good idea for any business or any resident that has questions that is doing a structural change, if they're adding a deck, if they are changing their business hours or how they're functioning as a business, to come and just ask those questions. We don't want to get in the way of businesses and how they benefit our community. But we do have different policies. If you are, say, doing an addition or changing the structure in some way, if it's going to affect parking, if it's going to affect the sound and atmosphere surrounding business location, those are just questions that we would want to take to the surrounding public and make sure that everybody's on the same page and accepting that this is a good thing.
Which is kind of what we've seen a lot of during COVID and the restrictions with patios and things like that, right? Like that's a similar type of thing with additions.
It is, yeah.
Yes and no.
And prior to COVID, I think Brown's was the only sort of patio that we had. So it's good that we've got a few more that have happened, and our weather has been somewhat cooperative. So that is a nice addition to the community, and having different outdoor settings and different settings for residents to go and enjoy.
Awesome. Thank you, Byron. And so moving over to the next topic I have from the recent council meeting, Trevor Boland added a late business item, letter to Squamish from the mayor about fair and equitable tax rates in relation to the LNG project. What are your thoughts on this, and why might it be important for that community as well as ours because of, our path on the LNG?
Yeah, well, for the LNG, the liquid natural gas, it's coming from our area. We're familiar with the structure of taxation to industry and what that means, what the benefits are. And Squamish, they're not quite as familiar with LNG and oil and gas products in general. So sending a letter to kind of outline what we do and give them support, offer them support, I think it's neighborly. It's a good thing to do.
Yeah.
Industry is very important for our area. We all wish that our provincial leadership would see that the industry is very important throughout the province. And a municipality such as Squamish, if we can give them a helping hand, I think it's positive.
That's awesome. That's definitely awesome. Now, moving over to the previous council meeting, I wanted to talk about the presentation from the Fort St. John Fire Department on wildfire deployment. There was a lot of information on past deployments and the planning that goes into it. What were your major takeaways from the presentation? And just to note, Fire Chief Robert Norton said that the deployment can be pulled if needed. They denied 3 last year due to staffing costs, etc. So I just kind of wanted your thoughts on that.
What you said was the most important aspect in my mind. It's just our firefighters are paid. It's a paid crew. It is our budget line. They are our firefighters, and the safety of our community has to come first. Yes, it's tremendous that the guys are able to and willing to come forward and help our neighbors throughout the province. And Chief Norton and his staff, they have a formal process that they've gone through, and it was good for us to get an update on what they look at, that they can say no, that they will say no and have said no, and that if our region, our community is in danger, we need to have our guys home. And that was all clear to us. And a policy now will be coming forward, which will allow the chief and the deputy chief and their crew to determine, as they have been, without having to track us as council members down to give an approval. We will find out after, and just knowing that our guys are helping other communities, other regions, and if we get into trouble, they can get back here as quickly as possible. And that's important for all of our residents.
So that latter part, that was my next question, but just to clarify, so the policy essentially is something they've already been doing, but by creating this policy within the city, it just expedites the process?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. As we brought out in the meeting of our former chief, he had spent hours on a weekend trying to track us down to have a quorum of approval to send the guys out. And that's really, it's not necessary. They, our fire chief and the firefighters are the experts, and they have a policy, or they have a procedure in place, and now we'll allow that to just function properly and know that our community is going to be safe.
And now my last thing about the presentation, it's less of a question and just more of something that stood out to me with Norton's presentation. It seems like the procedure they have in place is working. But when he said there were multiple firefighters who were willing to help anyone they could, like I don't know if it was you specifically, but council did ask, are you guys finding that it's hard to get, people to accept these deployments? And the simple answer was no, that the firefighters are always willing to help. It just so shows who we have in our community in a case of an emergency.
They are a group of type A personalities that will jump up to help anyone at any point in time and willingly do so. And it's a strength for our community.
Now I wanted to move over to EOC, just kind of get a little bit of an update if you have. So the city is getting ahead of the upcoming wildfire. Well, the wildfire season's already here, but it should be an interesting one as we move into the coming weeks, to the coming months, to say the least. I know the city had applied to 2 grants through the Emergency Preparedness Fund. What is the status of that funding?
I don't know specifically what the status would be. I know that the preparations for our operational center is underway. As you suggested, there is fires already within the area. So the mobilization of that and preparedness of that is happening. The volunteers and other organizations involved are also getting themselves set, getting paperwork ready, getting all of. So the funding itself was, 1, for the operational center, and 2, for different tools, different training, different needs that would fit for knowing what we've faced the last couple summers, what we're likely to face coming at us here this summer. Just everything's getting ready. And, we have a great staff, a great crew of City of Fort St. John, as well as our partners in the community that are working together to learn from past experiences so that everything can go that much smoother in a very challenging time.
Definitely for me, as someone who's been following council for the past 3 years, because part of my job is I've seen kind of how it's not to say it's gotten more important, but just to say that the preparation has been further out. You know what I mean? So there's always preparation that you guys are talking about it, but it seems like you guys were talking about it, a couple months ago before the wildfire season even started. My next question is, Is the hope still kind of to have a permanent EOC at the old RCMP detachment, or it's still kind of up in the air?
Yes, that
Yes,
is
okay.
the plan going forward. The timeline on that, I'm not sure.
Mhm.
We did, as a council, we had a walkthrough of our former RCMP station and had a good look around to know what is available within the space there. And the plan going forward would be to have that as a permanent location for our EOC.
Awesome. And then I also wanted to bring up the emergency social services. So the ESS services for, I believe it's the new Wolverine Automotive. Is that correct? So that's the
Yes.
ESS setup there.
Yeah, it was formerly Wolverine.
Wolverine Automotive.
On 100th Avenue.
Yeah, but now it's going to be a city building. So that is going to house the North Peace Search and Rescue, as well as equipment for is it equipment or training for the fire department?
It'd be mainly equipment.
Okay.
Okay. I think the training aspect would be the search and rescue, whatever means they have for their training of their volunteers. We as a city have been working closely with search and rescue for a number of years, in that they've been just storing their equipment in borrowed warehouse space and such. And so we did have money budgeted for a new structure. This facility became available, and
for a lot less money.
We did the purchase. we saved a couple bucks on that. And going forward, it's tremendous for the region. Go back to the forest fires, you go back to various outdoor activities that are in the region. Our search and rescue is very, very important, and it's a volunteer group. So for us as a council, us as a city, it's very positive in my mind that they now have a home and working together closely with us as a city.
And it's a huge building, and I know it's in the initial stages, but what's kind of the hope on how the layout's going to work? Like, I know we kind of said North Peace Search and Rescue is going to be in there, the fire department, but like, how's the layout going to work? Like, what is it going to look like?
Truly, I don't know. There's bays in there, so there'd be lots of room for some larger vehicles, larger equipment, whatever search and rescue currently has, and then hopefully they have some room to continue to grow as an organization as well as office space, training rooms. Like, it has been a functional business in there for a while, so I'm sure there'd be some walls that will be relocated and just shifting to the new needs of the facility.
When I went to go take a picture of the building, I drove by it so many times, just haven't looked at it. And then when I actually went to take a picture, I'm like, man, this is massive. This is huge. And for the cost you guys got it at is absolutely huge as well. For my last question here, Byron, it's about proclamations. We had a bunch here this past Monday, and just for residents, organizations who are unfamiliar, what's the process for organizations that want to request proclamations, and why is it a benefit to the city and its residents?
The proclamations are mainly not-for-profit groups, organizations. We try to encourage that it is local or regional based, to have a representative that is able to come towards council and speak about their organization and what they do, what services they provide. They could come to any of us on council. What we would then do is refer them to Bonnie McHugh, who is Legislative Services. And Bonnie would then provide that person or that organization with the formal request to do a proclamation, and they would provide the information of, again, what they do, the services they provide, the years of existence, and what the meaning of that proclamation would be. And then for us, informational. It's great to have those, as we did on Monday. I think we had 4 or 5 different proclamations. And it's an opportunity for us to touch base with community leaders. People are putting in a lot of time, effort for the benefit of our community, and it's very good information, and it's good to know who is doing these things in behind the scenes.
Yeah, and it's almost some sort of an update in a way too, depending on the presentations as well.
That's right. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Brian. That's all the questions I have. Thank you for joining me only a couple days after your vacation. I appreciate it.
It's all good.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.